because every event is either, catered towards fundraising or philanthropy. All the guys under me have been phenomenal, and they've stepped up immensely. Under the fundraising committee, I have Michael Luzzi, who kind of takes control of that committee. He's kind of right under me, and then we all work together, but in terms of a structure. And then under that, we have Dylan Wozni and Dylan Malone, all three of them have stepped up and really, really taken control and helped me, run these events, because it's not easy. Like there's a lot that go into a fundraising event. There's a lot, like I touched on earlier. There's a lot you got to think about, and that's an on-campus event. That's a lot easier than doing it, or off-campus event. That's a lot easier than doing an on-campus event because of all the forms and everything you got to fill out. But yeah, they have all helped amazingly. That they're all very, very. They've all stepped up a lot. Troy Giesel also, he's on philanthropy committee, but he's helped so much, and they've all stepped up. They're all newly initiated brothers besides Dylan Wozni, who has always kind of been able to take control and stuff like this. But they've all helped me. Every single once a month we all sit down, we plan out the schedule for philanthropy and fundraising that month. They all have really good ideas. They help me do it. So yeah, they've stepped up more than I ever would have thought when I had come up with the committees.
Yeah, they've impressed me. I mean, even though I'm not involved in any capacity when it comes to the fundraising efforts, I mean, they have done a wonderful job. It's been great to see. Maybe especially with Michael Luzzi and Troy Giesel and Dylan Malone. Those are three newly initiated brothers, so they've been quite impressive so far. But the other topic I was talking about, though, it was the alumni. How are alumni essential to our fundraising efforts and for finances with the chapter? How they provide us support?
So yeah, they're actually crucial, because obviously we're able to raise a good amount of money on these fundraisers, but we can't support everything that we need to do. Again, we have 37 brothers and 15 new members. We are not a small fraternity, so being able to get that alumni support and them able to, if they're so generous to support us financially a little and help us financially, it's always much appreciated. And yeah, they're able to. Sometimes, if you get a really generous alumni, he'll come around. He'll help us out a little bit financially, make a very generous donation, and they're always more than appreciated.
Right. I think that seeing them being as involved as they are, that encourages everyone who's in the chapter currently, because one day we're all going to graduate. That's at least the ultimate goal, that we too will stay involved and stay a part of this as much as possible whenever we go and into the real world and go about our own lives. But one alum I want to talk about is the former treasurer, Justin Senabine, who's currently actually pursuing his master's at Villanova University. So he graduated in spring, and obviously we wish him nothing but the best while he's in Villanova. It's certainly an ambitious goals that he has in life, and a very smart person. And I was happy to have met him last spring, or even last fall as well. But the transition process and leadership, I always think it can be very rocky, depending on who you have. And there's some things that they maybe say that, well, they maybe don't say that they probably just didn't even think about telling you. But when it comes to Justin, though, how prepared do you think you were underneath him once it was a transition from him going out and him explaining everything he's got, because he's an accounting major as well, so he knows the ropes for sure when it comes to finances. How was that transition process?
It was definitely rocky, but Justin was great, dude. He really helped. He was phenomenal with explaining things to me, with educating me. Again, I had some prior knowledge, but the basketball team was not the amount of money that this is. So it was definitely a little rocky. Again, pretty much the entire executive committee had exited, so the transition period for all of us was a little rocky, and it's definitely amplified when you're talking about money and getting your name on the bank account. And Justin was actually, like Luke had mentioned, going to Villanova, so he wasn't around very much to help me with all this, but he was very, very responsive over over iMessage, over email, whatever I needed. Whenever I needed to call him, he was very, very responsive. He had given me all the materials I needed. He helped me get my name on the bank account. So he was definitely crucial in the transition period. And yeah, I really could not have done it without him. He was a saving grace there, and I'm really, really thankful that he was the guy before me, because without him, I really don't know where we'd be at. It was definitely really rocky, probably the most rocky it's been in about 5 years, just because of all the crucial people that left in that short span. So just transitioning an entire e-board, not to mention, you know, all the bank account stuff, and we had actually dealt with all sorts of stuff related to the bank account. So it was definitely a little rocky, but he helped so much, and I'm really, really, really thankful for him.
Yeah. I mean, coming from someone else that recently transitioned into an executive committee role, definitely a rocky transition, lots of ups and downs. But, like, what was one way that you, like, stayed positive during, like, all the rockiness? And, like, you know, that could be really scary because, like, you know, being the treasurer, like, it's almost like one bad mistake and it's all blowing up in smoke. So what was one way that you kind of just stayed calm and just, like, you know, got through the whole process?
That's a really good question, because I think a lot of people don't think about that much in terms of how you portray yourself to the rest of the chapter, because you got to remember that it's not just the other guys on e-board watching you, it's the entire chapter. You're not doing this in a room, closed doors. Like, everybody knows what's going on. So really the most important thing I'd say is confidence. You got to carry yourself in a certain way that no matter what's going on, obviously if something really went wrong, people would see, but just a certain level of confidence you got to have amongst yourself, that when people see you and people see how you carry yourself, they know that everything's okay, and they know that you're doing your job and you're holding stuff down on your end of the fort. So just not losing your cool, not yelling at people, not, you know, when you get flustered, not pointing fingers, just staying cool, staying calm, doing your job, helping other people do their job. Again, you're not just a treasurer. You're an executive board member. You are a leader. You're not just a treasurer. Like, you can't just be doing the money. You got to help all the other 4 guys on the e-board run the fraternity. It's not just the money. So just kind of not just throwing myself in a corner and freaking out. You know, it's obviously stressful. It's not an easy job to do. But if you keep, like, a certain demeanor to yourself and you stay calm, then everybody behind you is going to stay calm, and that's when it really becomes like a well-oiled machine, when you're doing your job with a certain level of confidence. So yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is confidence, how you carry yourself, and just doing your job, and the people around you are going to do theirs.
Yeah, Luke, I do want to give you a lot of credit. Like, this fall semester has been very successful for our chapter, and so I'm the Vice President of Membership Development, and recruitment's underneath me, but I give a lot of credit to my Rush Committee, and I also give a lot of credit to you. Like, you know, that kind of touches into what you just said of, like, you're not just the treasurer. So, like, what kind of sparked the passion there of, like, okay, I'm not just going to focus on the money aspect. Like, you really helped me and the rest of the committee get 15 new members. So, like, if you want to talk about that, like, what really sparked your passion there?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually did want to touch on that. But obviously something that you know, I had a little background in, like I had mentioned, the basketball team. These players didn't just sign up. Like, it's a Catholic school, so they don't have to go to, it's a CYO league, so they don't have to go to the school to play on the team. They can't play for another high school, that's all. So these players don't just sign up. I kind of got to get out there and find them and recruit them a little. And, you know, my brother is in the same grade as all of them, so that was obviously a good avenue to get some of these players. But in terms of, like, being at the top of you know, an organization and trying to bring people into the organization, I did have a little background on it. And in terms of why, it's again, it's not just, recruitment is everybody's job, man. You can't, no matter if you're the secretary, if you're the treasurer, if you're, you know, just an alumni relations guy. Everybody's got to chip into recruitment. This is everything. So, and especially when you're in a leadership position, you kind of got to look around you, and you got to kind of try to motivate everybody to make sure that they're doing their job in terms of recruitment, and that they're getting, the people, they're having conversations and making connections with people. So it's not just me recruiting, it's also leading the people around me to make sure that they're doing what they need to do in terms of recruitment. So it's everybody's job, but it does start from the top up. So all 5 of those guys on the e-board have to be killing recruitment in order for things to work well.
Yeah. I do kind of just want to ask like a soft general question. Like, have you enjoyed your time as the Grand Treasurer? I mean, it gave you a really cool experience this summer. You and I really bonded. We got to go to a conference together. What exactly was that conference, and what did you learn from it?
So, to answer your first question, yeah, I do enjoy it. It's obviously, it is stressful, but it has taught me so many leadership skills, and my major is business management. So being in a leadership position and being able to track finances is really going to help me in my career. So I'm really glad that I'm getting started on this avenue now. And then to answer your second and third question, in July, we had attended the leadership conference in New Orleans, the Kappa Sigma leadership conference. So that was just pretty much all the chapters of Kappa Sigma and all their leaders, all their executive committee members kind of getting together and going to this conference in New Orleans to learn tips and tricks and, learn all the things about each of our positions, all the new member processes, all that kind of stuff. We were just learning about all that. We got to meet a lot of guys from other chapters. It was really beneficial in my opinion because I got to see how other chapters work, so we know that we're doing it correctly. Not only did I get to see other chapters work, but I also got to see how we're supposed to work, because there's alumni that kind of started this thing there, not started this thing, but have kept this thing running for years and years and years, that are on the Supreme Executive Committee, so they're the headquarters executive committee. And we got to see how they think things should be run. And obviously, if they got to that point, they know how things should be run. So just seeing how we're supposed to be running things and how other chapters are running things, it kind of, we made some tweaks. But, yeah, it really helped us hit the ground running for this semester, knowing what we're doing and what we're doing, maybe a little wrong. And we fixed things accordingly, and, yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing the one thing that I saw at least is, again, I'm not obviously on the executive committee, but just as a member, that I think was a good tip was, you guys coming up with the idea of SMART goals. And SMART goals are used throughout pretty much any organization under the sun that really takes themselves seriously as far as long-term planning out. But for those who don't know, a SMART goal is something that is specific, it is measurable, attainable, realistic, and then it has a time component to it, so it's timely. Because I remember we having our informal first meeting of the semester. It was actually over in the middle, in early August actually, so it had been right after you guys came back from New Orleans, and we talked about our SMART goals, and you guys had us all say, here is the things, like come up with a SMART goal, here's what a SMART goal looks like, related to your chair position. And I think it's a good thought exercise for everybody in the organization to do, because number one, it shows seriousness, but then number two, it also puts your thoughts in writing. That again, it is a goal that's going to be very structured. So I think that was a great strategy you guys took from that conference and then brought back home with you. So it was really worthwhile to hear that. But we're halfway through our program here on Greek Speak. Again, this is a show talking about all things Greek life on WSYC 88.7 FM in Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. We'll be back in just a moment.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom.
Good.
She said sometimes you just gotta hold on, and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up.
I'm going still.
Hold my hand.
You think I'm doing good?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Huh? Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's just a lot to talk
What
about.
about adopting a teen from foster care? You
Don't
can't imagine
bring
the
up the
reward.
snorkels because I have
Visit
no idea
adoptuskids.org
about
to
this.
find
I
out
don't pay
more.
attention.
We can switch. I'm thinking switch gears on the other end of this and just talk
I
about
learned
like
patience from my adoptive dad.
stuff like that. Like,
I am.
All he had to say was,
Hey, you got
Yeah,
this.
I'll get it
Just
started.
breathe.
I'll say that kind of just
Hey.
like that you're a member of the
Pretty
softball
good.
and soccer. I
Might
do not want to make mentions.
Do not mention soccer. What am I going to talk
What about
about?
adopting a teen
I'm
from
not
foster
really
care?
on the team. Like,
You
just
can't imagine the reward. Visit
yeah, I'll do
adoptuskids.org to
that.
find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the
I'll
U.S.
release
Department of
some
Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
And we're back at it here on Greek Speak, WSYC 88.7 FM, Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Once again, I'm Luke Rainey. Joined alongside me is Andrew Mercier, as always, and Luke Hillegass has been talking to us for the past half hour, and we're going to continue the conversation. And a good segue here for the second half of the show, kind of to focus on some things that aren't necessarily related to the treasurer role, but more so other things concerning Greek life. So one area that I know you're at least involved in somewhat is intramurals. So just talk about things related to intramural activities.
So yeah, I am currently a member of the softball team. We're not doing too hot. We won one of our games out of 3, but yeah, just seeing, I'm not much of a. I've always loved sports and I've always loved playing sports, but in terms of intramurals, there's definitely some better talent out there than myself. So just seeing everybody be able to compete and seeing us able to win games and at points dominate is really, I really enjoyed seeing that because it shows that, we can do other things than just like all the stressful stuff that we do. So seeing us being able to dominate these sports games is really fun, and hopefully we can bring home a championship. When I was actually a part of the basketball team last winter, and I sustained a pretty gnarly injury. It was just me pretty much falling down and my back getting hurt. So I try to stray away from these intramural sports as much as I can because I know I am far out of my prime of being an athlete. So I definitely try to stray away and just let, like I said before, the better talent kind of take control there.
Yeah. Shout out Tice. Yeah, basketball was fun. Softball has been pretty fun so far. We're hoping that we turn our season around in the second half past when we come back from fall break. But what other things do you see, like, yourself and the organization getting involved in, outside of, like, the serious aspect? Like, what are your favorite things that you and the organization do?
I'd say, the on-campus events are good because it gives people a chance to be able to see us as not a fraternity, but as a group of friends and see how, we're able to act with one another and, not only the other students, but, the staff of Shippensburg University is able to see that, maybe not eliminate the negative aspect of Greek life right there, but, be able to see how we actually act, amongst each other and how close we really are, because it's not just us being forced to hang out. We actually like each other. Like, we are really close friends, and I can confidently say that more than half of this fraternity, if not all of them, will be at my wedding, and a lot of them will be in my wedding, right next to me. So I can confidently say that I know when we're on campus we look like we are friends, and I think that's really good for not only our chapter but Greek life in general, because it's showing people that brotherhood is a real thing. And when you're put together with, again, you get to choose the fraternity you're in. So when you're put with the guys that you chose and that stand out to you, it looks really good. And I'm glad people are able to see that on campus. So another thing that I really enjoy is like the greater cause events. People being able to give back to the community. For example, on 9/11, we had actually gotten a bunch of cookies and water together and went and handed them out to the first responders, and just thanked them for their service and thanked them for everything that they do for us. So that's another really thing that I really enjoy doing, is just being able to give back to the community, show people we're more than just a fraternity, and that we enjoy, you know, again, giving back to the community. So yeah, there's a lot of aspects that I like besides the stressful stuff. And yeah, greater cause events, just hanging out on campus, and again, just being with, you know, my brothers, being able to hang out with those guys is something I look forward to every day, because at the end of the day, when I'm stressed with my position, I turn to these guys to talk to, the vent, to hang out with, just be friends at the end of the day. Like, we're still in a fraternity at the end of the day. This isn't the end of the world. So being able to turn to them, hang out with them, vent to them, just, you know, be friends is really, it means so much to me. And I don't think these guys really understand. I hope you guys are listening right now, because I really do love you all. But I don't think they understand how important they are to me, because when I'm able to sit down at the end of the day and, you know, just hang out with them, it's amazing, dude. It takes all, I don't have a thought in my mind. So yeah, I know I prolonged that question, but
no, I mean, it was a great answer to that. So let's kind of just shift to kind of just an individual personal question. What do you like to do on your free time?
So, to be completely honest, right now I don't have a whole lot of free time. I'm a pretty busy guy with school and my girlfriend and the fraternity, obviously. But I enjoy watching sports. I enjoy, you know, talking about sports. Mostly everything sports. That's pretty much 95% of my free time. You know, just going places with my friends, with my brothers, with my girlfriend, with my family. Going places, just, you know, messing around. That's really, sports, hanging out with my friends is really as much as I get these days. I don't have a whole lot of free time. Yeah, I'm pretty busy, but yeah, just being able to do that sometimes, it does still mean a lot.
Yeah, well, you talked about like hanging out with the brothers and the role that they're going to have in that, but I want to also discuss a little bit about the new members we have. So obviously one of our most successful recruitment semesters in the history of our chapter, with 15 new members coming in with us. I'll admit, like, you know, during the spring, I've been pretty candid about it before. Whenever I became a new member last February, during my process for new member education, I don't think I was as involved as I probably wish I was. And I think a lot of the strongest connections I built in the fraternity have come after I became a brother officially at the end of that new member education process. But when it comes to our new members, the 15 of them that are there, what are you looking for out of them as far as who they are as people and their devotion and their involvement to the chapter?
Yeah, that's a great point. Obviously, this most recent class was record-shattering. It was our biggest class of I think fall history in total of our chapter. Maybe there was one year that had more, but in terms of what I look for out of them, I look for them to exemplify brotherhood right away, immediately. I don't want somebody to come into the fraternity and not enjoy being there. That's the biggest thing that I look for, is I enjoy somebody, or I look for somebody who enjoys being there and hanging out around all of us, and that, you know, at the end of the day is going to go to the bat for us, because that's what brotherhood is. And when I look around at all these new members and I see that all 15 of them exemplify, you know, brotherhood, it means so much to me, because I'm able to see that right away, and I don't have to worry about that later down the line after I'm gone, that they're all going to, you know, care about each other, and they're all going to fight for each other if need be. So yeah. In terms of what else I look for when I'm, you know, in terms of when I'm gone, I think that this class is crucial, because again, I'm a junior. I'll be gone in a year and a half, and somebody is going to have to take over the leadership positions after, you know, myself and Andrew and potentially Luke are gone. Somebody's going to have to take over. So this class is crucial. And for anybody out there thinking about running for a leadership position, do it, because it is critical to running a fraternity, having those guys learning right away. I know that I've been talking to some guys that have been interested in terms of my chapter. I've been talking to some guys, you know, that have expressed interest to me. So do it, because when the guys above you are gone, somebody's got to step up, and you can't just watch it happen. So if there's nobody else around you that's willing to do it, you got to do it yourself. That's kind of what I did, and it's working out great. So yeah.
Well, I think the big lesson when it comes to any form of leadership is you don't know what it takes to be a leader of an organization until you're actually involved in it. There's nothing that really prepares you for the people who are underneath you and trying to mentor them and trying to get them to do all the things that are necessary for you to be successful, but also for them to be successful. But I think one of the lessons that I've learned is, especially serving as the public relations chair, is that for PR, you want to have something that shows that you could do PR outside the PR world. So Kappa Sigma, obviously, there's nothing inherent about it that's related to public relations, but running the social media, figuring out the logistics of that, monitoring the analytics, determining what content's going to be worthwhile to produce, create, edit, and all the whole 9 yards that comes with it, I think is extremely important. And again, there's a lot of substance there behind that for future employers related to things that I want to do, in my future, that's going to be extremely important for them to hear that I have that type of experience. So when you look at your role as treasurer, how do you see that translating to a professional opportunity for you later, at least the skills that you've gotten from that role?
I think it's imperative because, again, I mentioned this earlier briefly, that I am a business management major. There's a lot of, pondering if I would switch to finance because of my interest in being treasurer. But I had decided to switch with stay with business management, and I see the treasurer role being crucial to my future endeavors, mainly because of the leadership involved in that. They if I'm going to be a manager of some company, obviously somebody's going to want to have leadership experience. The person hiring me is going to want me to have leadership experience. So being able to have that under my belt, as well as being able to track finances. Managers need to do that too. It's not just the accountants that you hire. Managers need to be able to track what's going in versus what's coming out. And the treasurer role has really so far has prepared me for a lot of the jobs that I have been considering. So I'm really fortunate that this was on the table, and I'm excited to see what this prepares me for in the future.
Right, and on that note, I know we're shifting gears from treasurer position, but I guess this is one question that's very important for that type of role is your hands are on thousands and thousands of dollars of cash literally each semester. So with that type of power, there's a lot of financial responsibility because obviously if things go sideways, then it's a loss of the money that people are putting into the chapter. So how do you ensure accountability in the financial process? You mentioned the spreadsheet management, things like that, but what is the accountability structure for managing the funds?
So I'd say probably the biggest thing besides, like you just mentioned, Luke, the spreadsheet structure. The second most important thing is having people there to hold you accountable. Having two people count the money every single time, whether that be somebody on my committee or our president, Mr. Jonathan Hinderleiter. I doubt you're listening right now because you're probably at work, but if you are, he always is the first to make sure that I'm not alone while counting the money. And it's not because he doesn't trust me. It's just because you always need to have a second set of eyes, especially when you're dealing with cash. Just making sure that everything's going in correctly, everything's going out correctly. And then on the spreadsheets, that's really the point of the spreadsheet, is making sure when somebody asks, if somebody ever asks, I can show them, here's literally every dime we have spent in the past however long I've been the treasurer. Here's everything I have bought for the chapter, everything I've spent, everything we've made to the exact penny. Here's everything. So in terms of, the bank account, that's all taken care of, that's all documented. And then the cash, I write every single transaction we do down on cash. I have every receipt. I keep every receipt. I have sticky notes of every single fundraiser, every single dime we make in cash. I have it written down. I have our setup costs and everything on there. So I know exactly what's going in, exactly what's going out at all times.
Yeah. So I do want to just ask a general question. Let's say someone that, is kind of anti-Greek life, or is unsure, what's your advice to them to go with it, rather than be against it? Obviously, I know that you took a little bit to hop on board with it. I ended up joining a semester before you, but now you're extremely committed. But what would you say is your advice to someone that may be on the fence of joining a Greek organization?
So yeah, like you mentioned, and this is really, really good for people to see that it happens. I was very unsure about it. I had right before Rush Week, I had dealt with some hardships, personal loss in my family. My grandmother had passed, so I was very unsure if I wanted to commit to a fraternity right now. There's a lot on my mind. I was trying to make sure my grades stayed up. She was very, very close to me, so I was just making sure it was the right time. And something that got me to do it, and again, I just want to preface, I am so unbelievably glad I did it. It's the best decision I've ever made, and I know that sounds cliche, but I really do love these guys. So something that really got me to make the decision was going to the Rush events, just kind of getting out of my room, getting out of my dorm, and just going and talking to these guys. And I had explained why I was on the fence and about my grandmother, and these guys were the first people to sit me down and explain dude, you don't have to do this. We're here for you if you need to talk to us, but we're not going to force you into this. This isn't something that you have to do right now. Take all the time you want. But that was really the best recruitment strategy they could have used at that time. I know Andrew and Michael Burrows were two of the people in that conversation, and that wasn't recruitment. That was friendship right there. That was just them sitting down and them explaining to me, look, Luke, you don't have to do this. This isn't something we're forcing you to do. Take all the time you need. Obviously, losing a family member is a big thing. That was all they needed to say. That really. This was Thursday of Rush Week. This was a two-week-long Rush Week, so it was the first week, and I had made my decision there. After that conversation, I went up to my dorm, and I knew right away. I called my mom. I told her I was doing it. So right then and there, I knew that was something that I wanted to do, and that's what I kind of try to portray to all the guys, that you got to recruit in terms of friendship, man. You can't recruit in terms of join our fraternity. No, you recruit, you make friends, and then you ask them to join. You got to recruit in terms of friendship, because it just means so much more to people when you're willing to make that personal bond with them, instead of just kind of pressuring them to join. That's not what it is. You want to find friends to bring them to this fraternity to make this chapter stronger. So yeah, I'd say I kind of forgot the entire question there, but that's yeah. I as someone that was in, and as you said, I was in that conversation. I knew you prior. I really wanted you. I really liked you as a person, but it was as your new member education process went on, you lived down the hall from us in Harley last year. Really saw us just bond as guys, and it was it wasn't necessarily oh, we're going to talk about the fraternity. We're going to talk about just life and sit around and play 2K, NFL, or just play sports in general. And I'm forever grateful for that. But so here we are in October, about to go into fall break. What are your plans for the rest of the year? And what's your plans for the rest of college in terms of the fraternity? So we're approaching fall break here. In terms of plans for the rest of the year, I am deadlocked in my treasurer role. I am trying to raise as much money for fundraising and philanthropy as possible right now. I am looking forward to events that we have planned, like I mentioned earlier, some of the stuff we have for October. And then probably over fall break, we'll sit down probably via Zoom with my fundraising committee, my philanthropy committee, and figure out some events for November. So yeah, we're just going to keep on rolling here this year. in this semester. Next semester, we have some things lined up as well. Obviously, not set in stone yet. We're going to discuss that. Yeah, we're just going to keep rolling right now. And then in terms of the rest of my college career, I obviously hope to move up in the ranks in terms of the fraternity. I'm not sure what yet, but that'll be, thought about. That'll be, that'll be decided at a later point. But right now, I'm just locked into my role. I'm trying to do the best that I can. I'm trying to lead the guys around me, get them ready to, if somebody wants to be treasurer after me, make sure they're prepared. That's really all you can do right now. You just got to lock into your role. You can't be thinking about the future yet. Even though it's crucial to think about the future, you gotta lock in as much as you can, because again, we're here only in October. There's a lot of months left, a lot of time left. You can't be caught thinking too far ahead. So yeah, like I said, just lock it in right now.
Well, the last question I want to talk about as we wrap it up here on Greek Speak, a show all related to things that are all Greek life. Luke, obviously, whenever you started, became a new member, you then become a brother, you then hold a chair position as a brother, and then you become an executive committee officer. Are you the same person you were whenever this whole thing started? How have you evolved and how have you matured since it all began?
That's a really, really good point, because I think that is, underlooked. I don't think people really view, how important that is. Obviously, when I came in, I was not as serious as I am. I did not take things as seriously. I was a little goofy. I made a lot of jokes. I cracked a lot of jokes. People, I would have gotten annoyed with the kind of guy I was. And a general member of the fraternity, I would have gotten very annoyed with myself if I was, Justin or Brandon Akers, who was the president at the time, or, Dan Singleton, who dealt with the disciplinary actions at the time. He was the vice president, and I had seen him getting very, very annoyed with me because, like I said, I was a little rowdy, I was annoying, I was immature, and in just a semester, honestly, the growth that I've seen myself take and the fraternity take is instrumental to what we've been doing so far, because if I was the same guy I was last fall, there is no chance anybody was voting for me to take on a leadership role. So over winter break last year, I did a lot of self-reflecting. I kind of sat down with myself and I was like, dude, if you wanna be in a leadership role of this fraternity, you cannot be acting like this, because people think you are an idiot. Like, to put it blunt there. Just self-reflecting, kind of, if you want to do a leadership role, making sure your personality is fit for that role, and if not, pass it to somebody else, man, because you don't want to be the guy that's not ready to do something. So that's pretty much all I got for that question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent answer, and I do think that, you did say at the end, like, if someone's not ready to do it, then they need to pass it to somebody else who is, and for a person who doesn't do that, I think that shows a lot of maturity in their own way to kind of recognize, like, hey, like, this, I would not be good in this role, even if other people are kind of recommending it for them. So it's definitely, it's again, the art of leadership, the art of any organization, and you learn a lot about life through navigating the waters and through handling the challenges that come with it. But Luke, we just want to thank you so much for a great conversation for the past 54 minutes. We are going to wrap it up here on Greek Speak, and we thank everyone for listening to this week's edition. And until next week, we will be seeing you all later.
It was good?
Yeah.
Did I fuck up at all?
No,
I think you did really well.
that was,
Yeah, it was fun.
like I said, that was the best interview we've
by
had.
far. It was
I like being able to show it. How many people were listening?
I can't tell.
Fuck.
Patrick was
That
listening.
was some good detail, bro.